What's the biggest thing you're hearing from CEOs?
It's slow on recovery. When you look at the unemployment rate, we know that that is a 30-day review number and doesn't really tell us what's happening. We actually pay more attention to the job advertising data, and that is companies posting jobs. And we've seen movement each week of May, with this last week, the highest movement at 9%. So we're starting to see some optimism with companies starting to post jobs, which is really the first step as you're looking to fill the demand. So we're starting to see some positive progression.
Irina, I'm assuming that the easiest jobs come back first. It's going to get harder and harder. We're going to get an initial burst of rehiring, and then after that, it gets tougher and tougher as we approach the fall.
It depends. It's coming in cycles. For example, in certain industries, one of the things we're seeing is the financial and insurance industries. They've stayed pretty flat throughout COVID, and yet they have been the highest growth area. They're growing 26% over the last 2 weeks and looking for talent. On the other hand, retail and hospitality that's been hit the hardest is actually having the most trouble acquiring talent right now, mostly because of what unemployment is offering, that it's actually safer and more convenient for employees to stay on unemployment than to go back into those lower wages roles. So we're actually seeing a little bit of an imbalance across the entire industry.
Irina, sort of pick up on what Guy's talking about as well as the SoftBank situation. So yes, we know where the layoffs have been and where the job postings are, but then you have SoftBank cutting workers, the ripple through to the venture capitalist world. Are we going to see the second round effects in the second tier industries affected by COVID?
I think a lot of that, and that is what's not in the unemployment number, but is in the jobless claims number, is that we saw May starting to impact secondary COVID companies. And right now what we're seeing is really companies looking to slowly bring back furloughs and start opening up certain recs. And we're actually really focused on, as you commit to the great rehire, how are you making sure that you're taking diversity into account as you're bringing those 40 million employees back, in addition to the jobs that you're bringing back?
Just in terms of what we've seen thus far, I just want to get your take, Irina. The PPP program, the government program in the United States to protect jobs, seems to have worked. Is that your assessment as well? Kind of just give us your sort of sense of the impact that government has had in terms of stabilizing the situation.
I think a great indicator of that is that an IFB report, the index that just came out, that basically said that small and medium-sized businesses are feeling slightly more optimistic, and they would be the most highly hit during COVID. And they also represent really the feeling of our communities of getting them back into work and back to being productive. So PPE has definitely saved those businesses and has made them really have to rethink how many people they should be letting go or not. The effects of PPE and whether there'll be more PPE is going to be really interesting to see at the rate of what the rehire will look like. And that will, in fact, impact it greatly.
I love that you brought up the NFIB. That's my desert island indicator that I'd love to go with if I had to get one on a desert island. What's not in there, though, is sort of the shift within the psyche of the American world on social inequality, which we see really play out here, particularly in New York with the protests. When you talk to CEOs over the last couple weeks, what are they saying in relation to this?
It's our right. It's our opportunity. We have to take action now. And one of the things that we are talking about is how do you make sure that it's not a moment in time, but you create lasting change. And one of the biggest drivers of that is economic inequality, that employment can be a great equalizer. And so when you look at the great rehire of 40 million Americans, how do you make sure you take diversity into account? And even with the unemployment rates that just came out, we saw that inequality continue with Hispanics, Black, Asian community not really increasing, or rather decreasing the unemployment rates versus white men, white in general, and women have actually improved.
Yeah, I really want to pick up on that point, Irina. It's a really good one and a really interesting one. Companies have made a great deal of effort on gender equality over the last few years. It has generated some positive results. There is clearly a long way to go. How can we replicate what has been done over the last couple of years in terms of gender when it comes to race? Because companies are focused on one, but not focused clearly enough on the other.
Guy hit it on the nail. And one of the things that we've talked about is how we've lowered and reduced the income divide between male and female. And while in April we gave away a lot of that, so we're really going to have to be focused on that, on rehiring, to be mindful of that. But on the Black community, we really haven't been having that conversation as much as we should, because Black households are making up 61% of median income white households. And that is a huge divide. And what is actually even more unsettling to that 61% number is that it really hasn't materially moved. It was 56% in 1970. So we really haven't made the stride that we needed to make. And now more than ever is such a great opportunity for companies to use diversity tools, to use technology. We're helping a lot of our clients at CareerBuilder to use diversity tools to make sure they're taking that into account.